This podcast is sponsored by eBay Canada. eBay Canada has been supporting Canadian small business retailers for 25 years. With their up and running program, you can access eBay's 180 plus million buyers in 190 countries around the world. With up and running, there are no listing fees on up to 200 listings per month, and you only pay fees when you sell. As part of the eBay community, you get real-time advice and inspiration and access to powerful selling tools and insights. Go to ebay.ca/up and running, stay local, and sell global.
Welcome to Canada's podcast, the number one podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs.
I'm your host, Mario Tonaguzzi, and on today's Calgary's podcast, our guest is Lisa Shelley, who is CEO of Neals Yard Remedies. Thanks for joining us today, Lisa.
Thanks, Mario. Thanks for having me on.
Well, let me just start by asking you, first of all, explain what Neals Yard Remedies is and what you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? I've heard of all the different pronunciations over the years. Neals Yard Remedies is organic skincare. So we started in the UK back in 1981 in a forgotten corner of Covent Garden, and that corner is called Neals Yard. So a lot of people ask what that's all about. It's not garden remedies, it's not lawn care, and the question of who is Neal, that dates way back before we do.
Okay.
In that corner of Neals Yard, you'll also find a Neals Yard Dairy. So think of it as like the name of any square in any city. So from there, we make organic skincare, essential oils, health and beauty, mom and baby, all certified organic, clinically proven, a really nice option for anybody looking for a good quality skincare that actually works, is good for you and good for the planet.
Okay. Tell me a little bit, like from your perspective here in Calgary, the impact that COVID has had on your business and what you've had to do because of it, COVID.
Oh, COVID. I look forward to the days when COVID is a memory. I think COVID was pretty disruptive for us. I think any business owner needs to pivot during these times, but we have an office here in Calgary. We also have retail shops, and we sell online, and then we sell via wholesale to other partners such as Whole Foods or Shoppers Drug Mart. When COVID first happened, we're lucky that we work in a fairly large office with a small team, so we were able to continue operations, though we gave our staff the flexibility to work from home. I think fear is a really personal thing, and so what we're trying to do is allow everybody to navigate that individually, but it's important to still work as a team. So I think we needed to make sure that everyone felt supported, felt safe, but that the business could continue, because ultimately one of the fears that can come up is financial. And so we want to keep our people employed. We also have the customer to consider, and we wanted to keep them safe. And we sell a lot of hand sanitizer these days, but a lot of soaps, lotions, those sorts of things. So it was important that we could continue our business and keep our distribution channels open. And to do that, we needed to make sure our team was performing efficiently and effectively. So, I think some of the things that we did were allow the option to work from home, obviously, but also keep the office open where possible, because we distribute through our warehouse, which is based in our office. So we did things like take turns coming into the office, ensure we had backup plans in case someone was to get sick. But also really, I think, making sure that we were connected. And so having those virtual Zoom meetings like you and I are talking on today, part of it. And then, making sure that there was as little disruption in the business as possible, because I think a sense of normalcy during a stressful time is really important. And so if you're the customer, we wanted to make sure that you continue to get your product the same way you would have. And if you're our staff, that you have the supports that you needed in order to navigate that. I think on the outside of it, we've been really lucky. Our team has decided to come and work mostly from the office. I think that indicates a really happy work environment, and we're able to safeguard that so that everyone can feel safe there in our office on the daily.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the consumer in this field. What is it about today's consumer that is gravitating towards quote unquote organic things, whether it's health and beauty or whether it's food or drink? Why do you think more and more consumers find the appeal in organic products?
I think years ago when this concept of like natural or organic started, the industry was fighting against, or sorry, this natural industry was fighting against a more mainstream industry that was going more and more towards chemicals and synthetic chemicals and products that we just don't know what kind of impact they have on our body and the planet. And every year there's more chemicals released into the world. We don't necessarily know the impact of those in the long run, but we also don't know how they interact together. And so years ago, that's what the industry started fighting against. These days, I think in many ways that goal has been achieved. This concept of organic, this concept of natural is becoming mainstream. You'll see the certified products in the co-ops in Calgary, for example, or in mainstream. And I think that's really wonderful. What's continuing to drive that customer forward, I think, is it's a bit of a value proposition. It's that lifestyle. You want the confidence both in what the product is that you're putting on your skin, but also it has to work. You know what I mean? Like today's customer isn't willing to accept an organic or natural product if it doesn't give you the results that you want. And I think this is where Neals Yard fits really well in as a leader in the industry. So not only are our products certified organic, and in fact, we were the first beauty brand to be certified organic, we also have the clinical results to prove that they work. So, we have several different categories, whether that's, your anti-aging skincare, we have mom and baby products, for example, that are clinically proven to reduce stretch marks. We have all of these different categories that work, and the customer's not willing to adopt something if they can't feel good in their skin because their skin is so personal, and obviously we wear it daily. So I think that's what's driving today's customer is this desire to feel good about their purchasing decisions, but also to know that it's effective.
Well, when you're talking about purchasing decisions, obviously, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's perception out there that whether it's organic or labeled organic or labeled natural, it's a bit of a higher price, right? Not so people are still willing to spend that, right?
I think what the customer is looking for is something that works.
Yeah.
So if talking specifically about Neals Yard, our price point's no different than many of the other mainstream brands that you would find out there in some of the large department stores and some of the the Whole Foods or on the Shoppers Drug Mart, the options out there. So, I think that there can be a difference, certainly. The other thing that you're getting with our brand is the knowledge that people are treated well all the way through that supply chain. So we pay fair prices for our ingredients. We manufacture all of those products on our own at our own eco factory. The certification costs money. That's also a business expense. And so a lot of these inputs are what's going to drive our price. And that price, I think, is really fair when you consider all of those things. And it doesn't have to cost more. The other thing that you have to look at is the usability of the product. So a little bit goes a long way. So, when you're comparing ultimately the sticker price, you're looking at how long does that product last for and how often do I need to replace it. And I think that's where Neals Yard also does a really good job of being really good value for money.
This podcast is sponsored by eBay Canada. eBay Canada is powering Canadian small businesses. Go to ebay.ca/up and running to open your new global e-commerce business.
So tell me what it's like being a business owner and an entrepreneur, specifically in Calgary these days.
Well, that's a good question. I think when I started this business 6 or 7 years ago, I was definitely quite tenacious. I had big dreams. And when you start a business, how you think you're going to get to your goal is totally different in many cases than how you actually get to that goal. Yeah. And we've had to pivot. We've had to dig in. We've had to work really hard over the years. And I'm proud to say we are still in business. We are growing, and it's taken a lot of work, but it's been a challenging market. Calgary with energy, being very focused on energy over the years, and that industry having a lot of challenges in recent years has certainly impacted our business and businesses throughout, but it also impacts the overall energy of the city. And so what we needed to do was find ways to continue to, grow, continue to thrive, but also bring energy to the city. There's so many amazing small businesses in Calgary, and we work really closely with a lot of those other businesses to create a community and to continue to be a light in the city, and a source of, whether that's jobs or, diversification. Um, Operating a skincare business in Calgary isn't exactly common.
Yeah. So how long have you been in this role?
So I'm a CA. I started with Ernst& Young many years ago. Actually lived in London when I was working with Ernst& Young and discovered this brand. And so in 2013, I started Neals Yard Remedies in Canada, and in 2014, this became my sole focus. So it's been about 6 years of doing of owning my own business, and that's since spiraled into a couple of others. But it's been 2014. If you recall, Calgary was a pretty big year. We had lots of reasons to be happy, and since then we really had to roll with what it's like to operate.
Calgary was rolling in dough, and for the most part in 2013, 2014 until the fall of 2014 when things started to collapse. Right, wasn't pretty.
Our revenues, like I'm an accountant, so I love the numbers, but I love creativity as well. Our graph really follows that energy.
Yeah. It's funny, right? Like people don't understand it. I think people in other parts of the country really don't understand how tied in every business is in this community to that oil patch. So as the oil patch flows, so does the money flow to all these other businesses, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly connected. I think the other thing is, though, that Calgarians are diverse, and we're enthusiastic, and we're innovative, and there is an energy to the city. And I think we've had to obviously acknowledge that the energy sector is a massive player financially to the city, but that we've pivoted well. And I think that you're starting to see signs of optimism. I mean, COVID changes everything, but you're starting to see that resiliency and that innovation come out of Calgarians, and I think I'm really proud of the way the city is moving with the cards that were being dealt.
Now, being a business owner, I can't. I'd be remiss not to ask you this question, because it's a question that all business owners in Calgary have faced in the last couple of years, and it's the taxes. I know that. Well. Down in Mission, do you still have your store in Mission there?
You know what, Mary? One of the ways we pivoted during COVID was to actually shut that store.
Okay.
It was a little bit unfortunate in the sense that we put a lot of love into that shop. On the other hand, one of the ways we were able to pivot and really ensure a lot more business security was to move everything under the roof of our head office. So we moved our shop in Mission to 12th Avenue. Where we also have our team working. And so what that does is actually allows my head office staff, who are sometimes a little too comfortable behind a computer. But
okay. Well, I was the reason I brought up the Mission is because I was talking to I think it was right across the street from you, the owner of Worst restaurant and bar. And he talked about the taxes, right, and how high the taxes have gone. How has that impacted you as a business owner to see those rising taxes, business taxes in this city?
I mean, I think anytime taxes go up, it's hard on the businesses, particularly the small businesses. Some of that increase was due to the rezoning of some of the properties that would have gone from like tier 3 to tier 1, for example.
Yeah.
Also, it's about the relationship with the landlord, and I think that the landlords have an obligation to continue to build the community. And when that gets fully passed down to the tenants, and sometimes those those buildings aren't fully occupied, then the tenants, particularly the ones at the ground level, will have to bear more weight, and we just can't sustain it. So I think it became even more difficult to continue to operate independently.
Okay, so I'm curious, how does a chartered accountant get into this field?
Oh, I've asked myself that several times. I was definitely younger and more tenacious. I was looking for a values-based business. I've always had a bit of spunk in me, so the concept of running my own business was really appealing. And I happened to be in love with this brand. So talk about like never knowing who your consumer could be. I was living in London, as I said, started using Neals Yard Remedies, was so happy with how I felt in my skin, with the results I was seeing. You know, it wasn't like I had terrible skin, but I felt good about what I was buying, about what I was applying on my body, and how my skin looked. So when I moved back to Canada, I just felt that this was something that everyone should have access to. And I'm a sixth generation Calgarian. I love this city. I think people are really wonderful. I wanted them to have access to some of the best brands out there in the world. And so I cold called Neals Yard and I said, hey, what do you like? Could I bring this brand to Canada? And long story short, we came to this agreement, and here we are. But what it was a passion for making the world a better place, helping people live happier, healthier lives. And I think that if you're going to run a business, it doesn't matter what it is if you love it. And so I'm lucky to have an accounting background. I think it's critical that you know your numbers when you're running a business.
Yeah.
But I'm also generally quite creative. And so that's really helped us to navigate this, very interesting last 6 years.
So you got both sides of the brain working.
Yeah, I do.
So it's actually quite an important thing, right? Because most business owners really don't have, especially the smaller entrepreneurs, don't have that financial background, and so I think you probably have a very good advantage there, having that background as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think just knowing how to navigate the business, how numbers intersect at every point, finance really underpins all of the different areas of the business. And one of the things that I actually started doing is when my business was a lot smaller, when Neals Yard had just first started, I had extra capacity on my team, and my team had, some amazing marketing talent, some additional finance knowledge. And so I actually started supporting other business owners in their, often in the finance part of their own business. And through that established Citrus Capital as sort of a small and medium-sized strategic advisory, financial advisory firm. And so I now operate both of these, where we really focus on helping those other small businesses to navigate and understand their numbers, because I think, it's critical to our success. And I love to be able to help them ask the questions, understand that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do.
Okay, so obviously, a lot of businesses facing very tough times right now, especially in Calgary, right? We talked about the oil patch downturn and obviously the COVID. What's your best piece of advice for entrepreneurs right now? Many who are struggling, some of them are, just at the point of trying to make a decision whether to carry on or just pack up their bags?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think my best piece of advice is that it's okay to fail, and that to separate your self-worth as an individual from your business is very difficult. And closing a business doesn't mean you're failing or that your self-worth is at stake. So, I would encourage people to really, to fight if you can, but to acknowledge that, these things happen, and that the only certainty we have is today, but there's so much, opportunity out there, and just to keep fighting if you can, but that it's okay that if this particular one doesn't work out, because something better is coming.
Okay, super then. Well, thanks for joining us today, Lisa.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, that was Lisa Shelley, who is CEO of Neals Yard Remedies in Calgary. This has been Calgary's podcast on Canada's Podcast Network. I'm Mario Tonaguzzi. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Thanks for joining us today.
This podcast is sponsored by eBay Canada. eBay Canada is here to help. They've been supporting Canadian small business retailers for 25 years, and their up-and-running program is getting Canadian businesses online today. Visit ebay.ca/up-and-running. Stay local and sell global with eBay.